They called Earth a backwater, a primitive little world tucked into the Orion Arm, barely acknowledged by the Galactic Council. A planet of soft-bellied politicians and starving colonies, tolerated for its mineral exports, but ignored when it came to matters of power. And for a long time, they were right. We had nothing. No fleets, no colonies worth defending, and no say in the so-called Galactic Order. When the Grail Syndicate raided our outer stations, the Council sent us a sternly worded memo, not a single escort ship. When our diplomats begged for protection, they were laughed out of the chambers. But Earth had one thing left. Men like me. My name's Commander Jackson Cole. I'm no diplomat. I'm a soldier. Or was, before they shut down Earth's fleet 20 years ago. They told us space war was a thing of the past. That peace would reign in the Council's shadow. But some of us knew better. We'd seen the vids of burned-out colonies. We'd read the black files no politician wanted to touch. And we remembered one thing every predator understands. When you're weak, you get eaten. That's why the project existed. Buried in the ice beneath Europa, under the old mining domes, a skeleton crew kept working. Engineers, pilots, veterans. No official records, no council authorization. Just an unspoken agreement between a handful of hard men and one ruthless billionaire who'd watched his family die on the colonies. He funded it. We built it. Piece by piece. Reactor cores smuggled from abandoned Mars sites. Armor plating scavenged from derelict freighters. Weapons systems coded in dark labs where no AI monitors could trace them. The Supercarrier took 15 years. We named her Leviathan. She was massive, nearly twice the length of a standard Council dreadnought. Cloaking systems that made her ghost the scanners. Railguns that could punch through planetary shields. And a core reactor so illegal, even mentioning it in Council space carried a death sentence. And we kept her hidden, because we knew. If the Council or the syndicates found her, they'd wipe us out before we could even launch. That day came faster than we thought. A week ago, the Grail sent a fleet. Not a raid this time, an invasion. 3 battle cruisers, a dozen escorts. A clear message. Earth was going to be stripped for resources, her people sold off as slaves. And the Council? They looked the other way. Again. I was called up by the project's old handler, one encrypted message. It's time. We dusted off the old launch protocols, pulled surviving veterans out of hiding, loaded the ship with everything we had. Leviathan wasn't pretty. Half of her systems were patched with outdated tech, and our crew was barely large enough to man her. But we were going up, and when we broke through the ice and hit the upper orbit, we saw the Grail fleet closing in. The bastards were broadcasting in the clear, laughing about how they'd shackle the Terran Council members first, then torch our cities from orbit. That's when Leviathan decloaked. I wish I could have seen their faces. First, the Grail fleet's comms went dead silent. Then their lead battlecruiser tried to scramble, but too late. Our first railgun salvo hit it midsection, splitting the ship in 2. No fancy energy weapons, just pure kinetic death. Panic spread. They fired back, but our cloak had masked their targeting locks. Their beams scorched empty space. We gutted their second cruiser in under 2 minutes. By the time we closed with the flagship, the Grail were screaming surrender codes. Not that it mattered. We'd all read the orders. No mercy, not this time. When the last ship broke apart, we sent one broadcast across open Council channels. This is Earth. We will no longer be prey. And that's when the real storm started. Within hours, Council fleets began moving. Not in support, in fear. Earth had just unveiled a ship no primitive world should have. A weapon that could challenge their fragile balance. Now they want us disarmed, investigated, controlled. But men like me? We didn't build Leviathan to be controlled. We built her for war. The bridge was cold, metal bulkheads, dim lighting, and the hum of a reactor running hotter than anything allowed under Council law. I stood in the command chair of Leviathan, watching the last Growl wreckage drift across the black. The battle had lasted barely an hour. After years of building her in secret, Leviathan had finally bared her teeth, and the galaxy had seen it. But I knew this was just the beginning. "Status," I barked. My XO, Commander Burke, an old-school spacer with a burn-scarred jaw, scanned the holo displays. "All Grell targets destroyed. No damage sustained. Reactor holding steady." He paused. "But we've got multiple Council interceptors inbound. Fast." Of course, they couldn't ignore this. Earth had just committed an act of defiance no Council race would tolerate. Worse, we'd proven we had teeth. "How long until intercept?" I asked. "First wave, 20 minutes, more behind them." I nodded grimly. We weren't ready for a full Council fleet. Not yet. Leviathan was powerful, but alone. No support ships, no fleets to back us. Just a skeleton crew and one ship against the galaxy. And there was one more problem. The politicians back home. The so-called Terran Council, a bunch of spineless bureaucrats, had already started panicking. My comms officer handed me an encrypted transmission from Earth's capital. I knew the voice before it even played. High Chancellor Monroe, the softest man in the solar system. "Commander Cole, this is an unauthorized military action. You are ordered to power down Leviathan and submit to Council inspection. Do not engage further." I laughed, low and bitter. Ordered. Where was Monroe when the Graal fleet was burning our colonies? Where were the Council inspectors when Earth's miners were being sold as chattel on syndicate markets? "Cut the feed," I said. "If they want this ship, they can come take it." Burke grunted approval. Most of the men on board shared my view. We'd spent too many years building Leviathan to hand her over to a bunch of weak-kneed diplomats. The question now was simple. Fight or run? Burke leaned over. "We could cloak again. Burn dark through the asteroid belt. Lose 'em." I shook my head. "And then what? Run forever? They'll hunt us down peacefully."